Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video today about relationships, and I don't even know why this is coming up, but I guess because I'm going through this all the time in my life, so I thought I should share in hopes that this would connect with somebody else, which is always why I do what I do. So we've all heard the quote, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And it sounds really cliche, but I do believe that to be true. And I want to talk about certain relationship dynamics. And I guess the whole point of this is just to remind myself and to remind you as well that no matter how long a relationship lasts, whether it's romantic, whether it's a business partnership or a friendship or whatever, it doesn't have a reflection on you as a person, on your soul, or your worth. And I think it's so easy for us to get a sense of validation only from how long our relationships last. And this is a really, really old kind of paradigm belief. And a main example of this is my grandparents' generation. So 60s, 70s, people that are 60 and 70-year-olds in that kind of age gap and older. There was this belief that if you got married, you had to stay with your partner no matter what. No matter what. Like, even if there was abuse, even if it was a toxic relationship, even if you fell out of love with each other, even if some sort of cheating happened or some sort of tragedy happened, like, you had to stay together no matter what. And this has been shifting. I've seen this shift with some people in that generation and everyone that's younger. And it's not to say it's not possible for the older generations to get out of that belief system, but it is more challenging for them because they grew up with that belief system from the time they were very young. And it was a very different time then. The men worked, the women stayed home and took care of the kids. And I guess around that time, the women were somewhat, not all of them, but some were trying to get their own career path, which I think is great. And in this day and age, the younger generations, it's so different, right? It's not one or the other. We have same-sex marriages, we have equality. There's still a lot of work to be done in regards to equal rights and gay rights and all of the crazy issues that still exist in the world. But my point is, what is my point? My point is that we have these beliefs about relationships from the time we were very young, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like, someone can have a really, really long romantic relationship or a marriage, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a healthy and happy one, right? And I'm not saying the answer is always just to leave without trying or anything, but you can't base your worth off of the length of your relationships. And I want to get into this whole thing about trusting our intuition, because I do think that we are very much guided, and I feel like a very in-tune person, and I am constantly reminded by other people that I'm very much in alignment with my intuition, and for the most part, I trust myself and I trust my gut. However, I'm a human being, and of course I've had times in my life where I too freely trusted people, and I don't think that necessarily makes me a bad person or a naive person, but it's part of life and it's part of learning. And I think people like me who are intuitive and who are sensitive and who are positive want to see the best in people. However, we have to be aware of the fact that there are sometimes red flags that we don't want to acknowledge in the beginning of relationships, in any kind of relationship. And we have to be present as best as possible to make sure that we are engaging with an energy and with a person and with maybe even a company that resonates with us. Sometimes we settle for less because we either have this deep-seated fear that we're not enough, or that we don't deserve to be loved, or that we don't deserve to have a flourishing, abundant career partner, or what have you. So it's just really interesting to me that relationships have so many levels to them, and it always stems from self. How are you connecting to yourself? How are you loving yourself? How are you connecting to your source? How are you interacting with other people. And it really does stem to how you are taking care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself and you're putting other people first of all, I know how that goes. And it can be so easy to burn out and lose your sense of self and lose your power. And it's really easy to give your power away to other people. And something that's really frustrating is that you can trust your gut about a particular person or about like a job opportunity or anything. And at first, you may get a positive impression, and you can be thinking to yourself and feeling in your gut that you are making a good, wise decision that feels in alignment with you at a certain given moment. And we have to be open to acknowledging the fact that sometimes in life, there are some people that are very good at manipulating, and they are very good at concealing their true identity. And it's not necessarily our fault for believing it, I don't think, but I think it stems from people portraying themselves in a certain way because they're hiding their true self. And even with a really, really good intuition, sometimes it is really difficult to spot right away until you start engaging more and more with a person. And I understand how devastating it is to form some sort of friendship or a partnership and weeks, months, years down the line have it all come crumbling down, and you think, wow, how did I miss the signs? Why did I not trust myself? Did I not get any red flags? And it's really a confusing process to go through. But I have to say that I've seen it a few times, well, more than a few times in my life, specifically over the past little while, and it can still be shocking. Because again, we want to see the best in people, or I do anyway, and it's so easy for people, especially these days with social media, to paint and portray themselves in a certain light. And it can be really, really convincing. And you may have a little bit of a feeling that, I don't know if I buy that. But the rest of you says, well, I've known so-and-so for X amount of years, and I don't want to believe anything other than how I have seen them and how I've known them. And that's completely understandable. However, I believe that the truth will always come to light. I believe that we have soul contracts with people. I believe that there's a certain time in your life where you're just meant to meet certain people, and they will find you and you will find them, and you will play out whatever it is that you need to play out together. And it's just one of those things that you can't predict. And I do think that we get a really good sense sometimes of when it's time to let someone go and when it's time to let someone new in, even though it is scary. Because if you've been burned, which we all have, it can be really, really scary when you meet someone, whether it's in a business or a personal context, when you know and you have a huge feeling that they are a big power player in your life, and not taking away your power, but you know that they are going to help you increase your sense of power, and they are going to help you progress to the next level of your life, and they are going to be a huge key partner in the next chapter of your life. It can be really, really scary to be vulnerable with new people, especially as you know, as you learn, as you grow older, that nothing really lasts forever. And relationships don't necessarily last 50, 60, 70 years anymore. Life is ever changing, and I think our soul contracts are just so different than what they used to be. And I think so many of us are stepping into our power, which is a great thing. And I think a lot of us are a little bit more willing to leave a relationship of any kind when we know it's not a match anymore, and when we've outgrown something, even in a career context. If we know that we are being called to do something else and to inspire people in a new way, or to follow our purpose or our dreams and take a different road, I think we are more likely to follow those inklings. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I think that a lot of us are just feeling it so much more powerfully than we have in previous generations. And it becomes this calling. And you hear this yelling and this internal dialogue that won't let up. If you're really meant to leave a situation and enter a new one, life will make that very, very apparent to you, whether you want to ignore it or not. So I guess my point is, it's just so important for us to trust ourselves. And I think I'm at a point in my life where I've cleared the decks in a lot of ways. And I think over the past 2 or 3 years, I've really purged, like, time and time again, physical things, belongings, relationships, belief systems, things in my career. And I'm basically at a very interesting place in this transition where people I never thought were going to leave, or I would have to have space away from, I have to. And it doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I can't send them love from afar. And it doesn't mean that they're not soul family and they're not connected to me, because they are. However, things change, and there are certain times in life where you have to really focus on self-care and focus on your purpose, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm in a space where I have to stay open to welcoming in new people, and it's not always easy. Some days it's very, very challenging, and it's vulnerable, and it does come with a lot of fear. But we have to keep the faith that there are people out there that we are meant to meet, that are meant to impact us, and that we are meant to impact as well in a positive way. And it doesn't necessarily mean that our relationships are going to last forever, but we just have to trust and know that we will have, even that we just have the possibility of having flourishing relationships that are healthy, that are better than our previous pain and relationships that we've had in the past, and just have faith and hope that the future can be brighter in general. And it's not just about getting to the end point, I think, is just important to remember, and I have to remind myself of that as well. It's not always about the destination, it is about the journey. And we don't know how long any of us has to live, and we don't know how long our relationships are going to live. And sometimes we are going to be blindsided and it's going to hurt, and other times we're going to meet people accidentally, and then they may be a partner or a friend of ours for the rest of our lives, and there's just no way of knowing for sure. All we can really do is try our best to stay present and take the action steps that we feel are necessary and we feel guided to do in any given moment, because things change. Things can change in an instant, in a positive and in a negative way. But we will be able to deal with anything that comes our way if we stay in the present and we believe and we know on some level, even if our ego is telling us otherwise, that our future and our present can be different and can be better than our past. I guess that's all I really wanted to say for today. I hope this has served you in some way, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.